he had to protect his brand. He introduced the LV monogram in 1896 to stop counterfeits, making Louis Vuitton a name that only the wealthy could afford. Under Georges, the brand didn't just survive, it dominated the luxury market. But nothing lasts forever. Georges was aging. The empire was growing too big for one man. The world was changing fast. Automobiles, airplanes, and a new era of fashion were emerging. For decades, Georges had worked endlessly to expand the Louis Vuitton brand. He introduced leather handbags and accessories that became a status symbol. He opened stores internationally, making Louis Vuitton a global name. He protected the brand's exclusivity, ensuring that LV remained a luxury reserved for the elite. But in the 1930s, Georges faced his greatest challenge yet. His health began to fail. Years of stress, constant innovation, and global expansion had taken a toll on his body. By 1936, Georges Vuitton passed away, marking the end of an era. The question now was, who would continue the empire? This was when Gaston Louis Vuitton, Georges' son, stepped forward. Gaston Louis Vuitton had grown up surrounded by luxury, design, and craftsmanship. From a young age, he had watched his father expand the brand, and now it was his turn. But the world was different now. The Great Depression, 1929 to 1939, had destroyed businesses worldwide. The rise of automobiles and airplanes meant that traditional travel trunks were losing their importance. The fashion industry was changing. People wanted more than just luxury luggage. Would Louis Vuitton survive this new era? Gaston knew that if the company didn't adapt, it would die. So he made bold moves. 1. Expanding beyond travel bags. Under Gaston, Louis Vuitton introduced small leather goods, purses, and accessories. 2. Creating luxury handbags. He focused on high-end handbags that weren't just for travel but could be used in everyday fashion. 3. Innovating in design. He experimented with new styles, making Louis Vuitton more fashion-forward. But before he could push his vision further, World War II erupted, putting everything at risk. During World War II, 1939 to 1945, France was occupied by Nazi Germany. The country was in chaos, businesses were shutting down, and luxury brands were struggling to survive. Gaston Louis Vuitton had to make a choice, either close the business or find a way to keep it running. To survive, Louis Vuitton worked with the German-occupied French government. This was a controversial decision, and for years, this part of Louis Vuitton's history remained hidden. It wasn't until decades later that reports revealed the brand's ties to the Nazi government. But despite the war, Louis Vuitton survived. And when the war ended, Gaston Louis focused on rebuilding the brand's image. But this wasn't easy. After World War II, Europe was in economic ruins. The luxury market was weak, and people weren't thinking about expensive handbags or designer luggage. But Gaston knew one thing. The rich always find a way to stay rich. Even in difficult times, the wealthy elite still wanted luxury. So, Louis Vuitton focused on exclusive, high-quality products that only the wealthiest people in the world could afford. This strategy worked, and by the 1950s, Louis Vuitton was back on top. During this time, Louis Vuitton introduced some of its most famous handbags, including the Speedy bag, designed for fashionable women on the go; the Keepall bag, a stylish modern alternative to traditional luggage; the Noé bag, originally made for carrying champagne bottles in luxury. Louis Vuitton was no longer just a travel brand. It had become a fashion icon. But Gaston Louis was getting older. Who would take the empire into the next generation? By the 1960s, Louis Vuitton had grown into one of the most respected luxury brands in the world. But the world was moving faster than ever. New fashion trends were emerging. The wealthy class was expanding. Competition in luxury was increasing. Gaston Louis knew the company needed fresh ideas. So he brought in his son-in-law, Henri Racamier, to help modernize the business. Henri was a brilliant businessman with a vision. He believed that Louis Vuitton could become bigger than ever. His goal? Turn Louis Vuitton into the most powerful luxury brand in history. And this decision would change everything. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, Louis Vuitton was already an established luxury brand, known for its exclusive luggage, handbags, and accessories. But it was still operating like a traditional family business. The world was changing, and if Louis Vuitton wanted to dominate, it needed a new strategy, a new vision, and a new kind of leadership. This was when Henri Racamier stepped in. Henri Racamier wasn't a designer, and he wasn't a traditional businessman. He was a visionary. When he took control of Louis Vuitton, he saw one thing clearly. This wasn't just a brand. It was an untapped gold mine waiting to explode into a billion-dollar empire. But there was a problem. At that time, Louis Vuitton was selling only to a small group of elite customers in Europe. It was respected but not yet a global powerhouse. So Henri made bold, risky moves that would change the history of luxury forever. 1. Expanding to the richest markets. Instead of just selling in France, he pushed into the US, Japan, and the Middle East, places where the wealthiest people in the world were hungry for luxury. 2. Raising the prices. Henri knew one thing. The more expensive an item is, the more people desire it. He increased prices to levels that only the rich could afford. A Louis Vuitton handbag wasn't just an accessory. It was a symbol of status. 3. Luxury shopping experience. Louis Vuitton stores were no longer simple shops. They became palaces of luxury where customers felt special. Every store had private shopping areas, champagne service, and VIP treatment. But this was just the beginning. Louis Vuitton wasn't trying to sell to everyone. The brand targeted the top 1% of the world. The millionaires, billionaires, celebrities, and royalty. This was why they introduced limited edition bags, exotic leather products, and even private made-to-order collections. Some of the most exclusive Louis Vuitton products included crocodile skin handbags. Some LV bags are made from real crocodile leather, which makes them extremely rare and expensive. Prices for these bags start at $50,000 and can go up to $100,000 or more. Python and ostrich skin bags. These bags are handcrafted using python, ostrich, and other exotic skins, making them not just accessories but collector's items. Custom mini bars and cutlery bags. Louis Vuitton even introduced luxury mini bars and cutlery bags for the ultra-rich, designed to be used in private jets and yachts. These items could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unzippable travel trunks. One of the most iconic LV products is the custom-made travel trunk, which can cost up to $500,000 depending on the customization. But there was one problem. When a brand becomes too exclusive, counterfeiters start trying to copy it. As Louis Vuitton's popularity grew, fake LV bags flooded the market. In the 1980s, knockoff versions of Louis Vuitton handbags were being sold on the streets of Paris, New York, and Tokyo. This was a huge threat to the brand's image. If everyone had a Louis Vuitton bag, it wouldn't be special anymore. So Henri Racamier launched one of the biggest anti-counterfeiting campaigns in history. Louis Vuitton hired special teams of investigators to track down and shut down counterfeit factories. They worked with governments to pass strict anti-counterfeiting laws. They introduced special security features in their products to make them harder to fake. But Henri knew that to truly dominate the market, Louis Vuitton needed to become more than just a luggage brand. So he made a historic move. In 1987, Henri Racamier made a game-changing decision. He merged Louis Vuitton with Moet and Chandon, a luxury champagne brand, and Hennessy, a premium cognac brand, to create LVMH, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. This was brilliant because now Louis Vuitton wasn't just a fashion house, it was part of the world's biggest luxury group. With this merger, LVMH controlled dozens of luxury brands, expanded into fashion, jewelry, cosmetics, and alcohol, became the richest luxury company in the world. But Henri Racamier didn't get to enjoy his empire for long. As LVMH grew, a new player entered the scene, a young businessman named Bernard Arnault. Arnault was hungry for power. He saw that LVMH was a golden opportunity, and he wanted to take control. In 1989, he used aggressive business tactics to push Henri Racamier out and took full control of LVMH. This move was controversial, but it made Bernard Arnault the most powerful man in luxury fashion. Once he had full control, Bernard Arnault transformed LVMH into a financial powerhouse. He expanded into new markets like China, Russia, and India. He bought luxury brands like Dior, Givenchy, and Fendi, making LVMH the most powerful fashion group in the world. He introduced super high-end products with prices reaching millions of dollars. Today, under Bernard Arnault, LVMH is worth over $500 billion, making it the richest luxury company in the world. Arnault himself is often ranked as the richest person on earth, with a net worth of over $200 billion. Today, Louis Vuitton represents exclusivity. Owning an LV bag means you've made it in life. Luxury craftsmanship. Every Louis Vuitton product is handmade by the best artisans in the world. A status symbol. Whether it's a handbag, luggage, or a custom minibar, Louis Vuitton is the ultimate sign of wealth. Even after 170-plus years, Louis Vuitton remains the most powerful luxury brand in the world. And it all started with one young man, Louis Vuitton, who had nothing but a dream. Louis Vuitton's story is a lesson in determination, vision, and risk-taking. From a poor boy in a small village to the biggest luxury empire in the world, Louis Vuitton proves that hard work and innovation can change everything. Every step, from handcrafting trunks to creating billion-dollar handbags, was built on excellence and exclusivity. And even after wars, economic crises, and battles for control, Louis Vuitton has stood the test of time. This is more than a brand, it's a legacy.